Arrest. I'm William Moore. I've got Bill Dorenzo with me. We're South Florida criminal defense attorneys. I was just having a conversation with my buddy Bill, and we're talking about the rebuilding of the DUI task force here in Broward, right?
Yeah, starting to get it going again is what I hear.
Right. How many DUIs have we done together or collectively over the last decade, 2 decades?
Hundreds, thousands?
Thousands, right?
Lots, yes.
We've gone through the Intoxilyzer 5000, which we had 2 of. We owned them.
Yes.
And I'm gonna, if those of you listening, but if you watch the YouTube video, you'll see I'll put them up. I'll show you the Intoxilyzer 5000 and what a piece of junk it looks like.
Oh my God, yeah.
Crazy.
Totally different from the 8000.
For many years, though, it's been the 8000 by CMI.
Mm-hmm.
I always kind of thought that the new one was designed to look much more high tech, which it does.
100%, yes.
And I've tried to tear it apart over the years and you certainly have.
Sure.
And I've seen these things. We try to get our hands on one. Today, after decades, Bill points out that it's got a handle on it. I know the keyboard folds out. It's got a handle on it. And I'm like, I know you're right. And so I pull up a picture, and there is a handle on it.
Yeah.
And so, Bill, is it okay to talk about a recent case that you had?
Sure, yeah, we can talk about it.
That's
all
right?
Yeah.
I mean, we got a DUI task force member that is driving around with an Intoxilyzer. I'm documenting this. I've got it. It's being recorded.
Yeah.
Is driving around with one in their automobile.
Yes. I mean, it's not a secret. It's all public record. It's in the police reports. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, but there's a guy on the DUI task force that has an Intoxilyzer in the back of his patrol vehicle.
Okay, for people that don't follow DUI and make it a part of their lives, and counties, including Broward, especially Palm Beach, they want to intoxilize, draw blood, or anything like that. So let's set up a tent and when they're doing a sting, right, and that they'll have an Intoxilyzer on the scene, but it's secure in a big camper.
You got it.
We don't have on the road Intoxilizers in Broward County or in Florida.
This is the first one that I've heard of in the entire state of Florida. I've never heard that before. I've never heard, and it goes back to because, and I don't know. I mean, I think probably some of the reasons why are the Intoxilizers are not cheap. You know, it's not like the sheriff's office or municipalities have like 15 or 20 of these Intoxilizers. They're very expensive. So to give every officer an Intoxilyzer, the costs of that are really high. I think the Intoxilizers are like $9,000 or $10,000 each to buy when they buy them from CMI.
With the training certificate, the time which is limited to officers only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
And you know that's one of the concerns. And also there is an administrative code out there. I think it's 11D-8 something. There are certain rules and regulations for the Intoxilizers. And it says right in the administrative code they have to be kept in a secured environment. They have to be kept clean and dry. Only somebody with an authorized permit should have access to these things. So now, based on our discussion, now the question becomes, okay, is it okay for these guys to be driving around with a Intoxilyzer in their vehicle? And I have never heard it being challenged before. And who knows, this may be the first one. It may not be the first one.
We don't... the common layperson, when I say layperson, I mean non-lawyers that don't make DUI a part of their life, criminal defense. Many people think that you get intoxilized on the scene.
Yes,
they always have.
Everybody does, yes.
But that's not allowed by our Constitution.
That's not, well, and a lot of people don't know this, as you said, in order for a law enforcement officer to even ask for a breath test, the law says that they have to place the individual under arrest first. So they have to be placed under arrest. Sometimes, depending on the officer, the department, and their rules and regulations, sometimes they will ask on scene. And then in 99.9 of the situations, they are going to either transport them to the BAT facility, where what's just called the breath alcohol testing facility, which is run by the Broward Sheriff's Office. And then they go there where the Intoxilyzer is kept in a secure environment. It's locked up. It's kept in the air condition so the environment is constant. There's signs up on the walls that you can't have any cell phones in there. You can't have any alcohol in the room. You can't have A, B, C, and D because they're so cognizant of the environment of the Intoxilyzer.
And what you mean by alcohol, cleaning supplies, the way they clean the room. They can't use alcohol-based cleaning supplies whatsoever.
Yeah, they can't.
Ambient room temperature and quantity. Right.
Yeah, because they're concerned with if they have, for example, an open alcohol or an alcohol wipe or some type of cleaning solution by the Intoxilyzer, that Intoxilyzer can pick up on that stuff and could, skew the reading, if you will.
I know that you've argued successfully because of the provision of the administrative code that only a licensed operator should have access.
Correct.
Then only licensed operators should even clean the area, I would think. Now, since you have to be placed under arrest, you don't have to be placed under arrest to be asked to do field sobriety exercises. Right? That's an order. The officer wants you to do them to confirm or dispel their belief or the suspicion that you're DUI.
That is their exact language that they use.
or close, right?
You've done a few of these.
I'm telling you, but that isn't followed or preceded by a breathalyzer, a small unit or anything. It isn't. We're authorized to use the Intoxilyzer 8,000 in Florida.
Right.
I don't think that you can even any jurisdictions. There was a grace period where the departments could cross over from the 5,000 to the 8,000.
Right.
Okay, but the officer will take you to the bat facility where they can film you again if the officer has an in-car cam. And you were talking about the cost of the Intoxilyzer.
Yeah.
And even the cost of the recording equipment for DUI task force. Isn't there's a DUI, what's left of the DUI task force, isn't there an officer that is driving around without video equipment in his car?
I'm not sure. To my knowledge, all of the guys usually have a camera in their car, but all of BSO has body cameras now. So that's another issue. We double up on it now. Usually they're going to have a car camera that's going to record it, and they'll get it on their body camera also.
Right. I guess there's no rule that would prohibit the use of any recording device. I know we used to be able to challenge, right, how many times did we make the argument back in 2000 and how long is it? 6. Did you have the ability to record in your car? You could carry a camcorder,
Sure.
even though you were. But
I've seen police departments that have done that, not in Broward County, but outside. They would have one officer with a little handheld Sony camera, and he would videotape it all.
right now with body cams. But the big thing here is, I can't believe you were right. Well, I knew that you were right, but I had to check it out. The handle, and that's why the keyboard folds down, which I've always kind of wondered. And you uncovered he had a mechanism. It's built into his car.
And I've never seen it, but based on
I bet
what
you will.
learned-
You're trying to get a look at it, though, aren't you?
Based on what I've learned, yeah, it seems like they've got a good setup there. They've got a really good setup to try to, and it seems like what they're doing is they're trying to comply with the rules. It kind of just begs the question: is do they comply with the rules? Does what they're trying to do comply with the rules?
Oh, and I want to apologize to everyone. We had said that this show, and I believe the last broadcast or last radio show, I don't know if it was videotaped, that we were going to be talking about the proposed amendment, victims' rights, and not that was on the ballot. But I got this conversation with Bill, and the ultimate issue comes down to this. We're talking about this, the handle and it being in the car. I'm surprised. And then all of a sudden it dawns on us, because with the Intoxilyzer in the car, and you found this out, that the detective spent how long on the DUIs with that in his car? How long, Bill?
It cuts their time down tremendously.
Didn't you say an hour? Didn't it take him an hour?
They could be in and out of there in an hour. They could be, as long as they have somebody to do the transport, they don't have to stay around. They can, even if they make the traffic stop, they can do their traffic stop, they can do their contact, they can do their roadside exercises, they can place him under arrest, do the breath test. As long as they have somebody to do the transport, they're done after that breath test, and they can be out of there in an hour. Now, if they have to do the transport, then they have to transport him to the bat facility. They do the reports down there while they're waiting. They do the 20-minute observations. They finish with it. Sometimes people are in line at the bat facility, so they're not the first one in there. Sometimes they have to wait for 2 or 3 other ones. And then after they're done there, then they have to get him back in the car, and then they have to transport him down to the main jail. They have to check him in there. The process could be 3-4 hours for one arrest for a DUI officer. That keeps them off the road. And, if you stop and think about that, it's like, wow, they've got time to do, if that's the case, they've got time to do what, maybe 2, maybe 3 of them in a night or in one shift.
Right, one detective, one task force.
Yeah, one task force member could do 2 of them, maybe 3 on an ambitious night because it just takes so long. And now you're thinking, oh my God, if they do this, they could do 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, I would assume that 4 or 5 of them in a night would not be a difficult task for them to do. They could certainly accomplish
one detective.
Yeah.
See,
if they cut that time down to an hour or less than an hour.
Look out, everybody, because unbeknownst to you, the drivers out there, all you drivers, it's been pretty well covered up that DUIs have fallen off of the map in Broward.
Sure.
We know because we know how many DUIs come through. I mean, we have case numbers for DUIs from the clerk's office.
Yeah.
We know how many task force members there are, and it was all but wiped out. They're rebuilding, but what we dealt with for years were complaints in Broward about detectives, not officers, a highly paid, specialized, a trained detective being taken out of commission for 6 hours for a DUI arrest, which is a misdemeanor for a simple DUI.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a tremendous strain on departments. So sergeants were dissuading arrests. That's what was happening. I was hit by a drunk driver riding my bike, and so wasted came after me to beat me up. Someone called the police. They came, and before they even took my statement, they knew he was wasted. They let him go. And, I'm a DUI defense attorney. You're a DUI, I'm a criminal defense attorney in general, but we worked on him for years, very proficient. But I've seen it firsthand. I couldn't believe they didn't arrest this guy who was wasted. We know the cases weren't happening. These sergeants were pulling detectives off. They pulled back because of funding. Now there's an Intoxilyzer 8000 demo or test in the back of it. We're not going to mention the detective. May only take an hour. This sounds like they're getting around. DUIs are going to come back in full force if it only takes a detective an hour to perform an arrest, because that's why they cut back almost to non-existency.
Sure.
And if you've gotten a DUI in the past few years, 3 years, boy, are you unlucky, because I'm telling you, they're letting a lot of people go. I'm telling you, they are letting a lot of people go. Bill, I didn't tell you this. I know I've had so many discussions with people, called me up and said, yes, I was stopped, or someone I know was stopped. They were wasted. I got a call. They were told to call somebody that's not impaired, wasn't with you drinking. Leave your car here and they can come pick you up. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is back in the 70s when they used to do this.
Oh yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. If they can. We're almost out of time. I got to talk to you about this because I know you are going to be able to give tons of insight into it. Because don't you agree that this is aimed at streamlining?
Well, it certainly can, and I don't know if that's the goal of it, but if that is the goal, I mean, it certainly would be streamlined. I would assume if this is the goal, and just for example, if they have, I don't know, if I'm throwing out a number, if they have 4 guys on the task force, I mean, with Intoxilizers in the back of their vehicles, I'm just assuming that those 4 guys could probably do what 8, 9, or 10 guys could do right now if all those 4 guys had in the back Intoxilizers in the back of their cars. They could do the work. Those 4 could do the work of 8, 9, or 10 guys. Just because and nothing to say against any of them, it's just the process and how long the process takes. When they make that arrest, how long they're out, and then by the time they get back, they got to eat at some point in time. They're on the road for 10 hours, so it's not like, okay, go from this one to this one to this one to this one, and then you're done. It's like, no, we got other things to do in between.
This is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked many times about how, okay, they're rebuilding the task force, but they're up to 4 guys now, right? When it used to be so much bigger. DUIs, this could be not enforced like it used to be. And then lo and behold, very much like the DMV streamlined the administrative review process, very clever, very clever the way that they did that. And that actually worked out to our benefit as defense attorney, our clients' benefit.
For a lot of clients also, it's very good for them.
Without a doubt. Better system. Good move.
Never
even considered looking for a handle on this new Intoxilyzer because remember we used to tack the 5000, which was a piece of junk. No wonder you weren't supposed to be able to move it.
I was going to say, if you can put 2 pictures up there so you can see the difference between the 5 and the 8, It's night and day.
I'm going to.
Yeah, it's night and day.
I'm going to.
The 5,000, literally, if you look at that, you could look at that and say that that's something from about 1930. I mean, it looks like a steel box. And this one is like, now, hey, we got this, we got our handle, we got our tube, we got everything on the new one.
I remember back when the Intoxilyzer 8000 came out, and we had invested. We had 2 Intoxilyzer 5000s to show clients to use in court and whatnot.
Right.
And a little ceremony when we had to get rid of our Intoxilizers because we knew we were never going to be able to get our hands on an 8000. They won't sell them to us. We
they're
can't
not
buy them
easy to get.
secondhand.
Yep.
Right, and they're a fortune, like you said.
Yeah, they're expensive. I don't know the exact price, but I know they are expensive.
Right.
Yep.
Right. I need to talk with you about what's happening here because law enforcement's getting a little bit clever.
Yeah.
And it's data driven now, which is another show. But I need we're gonna talk about what
Sounds good.
what
We'll
they're doing
continue.
next show. I'd love to.
All right.
Thanks, Bill.
Good stuff. Thank you. It's great.
All right. You've been listening to State of Rest with William Dorenzo and William Moore. That's me. Thanks, everyone.